tax season tips and changes. And I know when we came in, the title that we used was tax time, what you need to know before filing. So this is the same presentation, right? You're not in the wrong place at all. So this is the year 2022, and there have been quite a few changes as it relates to taxes, income taxes specifically. And so my goal today is to get you prepared for the upcoming tax season. Now, if you don't have a notepad with you, I strongly encourage you to have one with you, right? Because some of the things that we'll be talking about are going to be extremely critical. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please go to the chat, right? There's a chat that's in here. So you can just type your question right into the chat. And at the end, we'll save, we usually like to spend 5 to 10 minutes at least at the end for some Q&A. So when I usually speak, I speak from just for about 45 to 50 minutes. Don't try to keep it too long-winded. I'll try to make it exciting, I promise, right? I know we're talking about taxes today. It's not the most exciting topic in the world, as Irma alluded to earlier today. So with that being said, my name is Jeff Badu, and I'm a certified public accountant. And with that being said, let's go right into the, looks like we have the Illinois Coronavirus Response Relief Business Center, right, in partnership with the Chicago Minority Supply Development Council, CMSDC. I do want to thank those two organizations for allowing me to host this event today and to be able to speak with you. And it looks like Irma also posted in the chat an intake form as well. So anyone who wants to complete that, please go ahead and do so. And with that, Irma, do you want to give a quick intro of who you are?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. We went a little bit, we changed it up and got you introducing me when we normally do it the other way around, but I'm just glad to have you with us again. You have provided some impactful information thanks to your experience and expertise and everything you do in involving taxes. Again, my name is Irma Lopez. I'm the program coordinator for the Illinois Coronavirus Response and Relief Business Center. It's a federal grant awarded to the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, and I and a team of 4 others are working to bring as much information on any resources, tools, training that could help you survive or strengthen your business during this pandemic. Next, Jeff. So you can see many of the main articles there or subjects that we try to cover are financial, supply chain, organizational development, technology, sales, and legal. And that's just some of the different items that we cover in the different workshops and cohorts that we have through our program. So our next upcoming webinar is January 18th. Please take note. It's a very good workshop to learn how to apply for SBIFs and NOS, or Notice of Funding Opportunity grants. So stay tuned and come back to join us on the 18th. Now you take it away, Jeff. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Irma. And thank you to the Chicago MSDC team, the coronavirus response team. It's always a great pleasure and an honor to just present to a group of people that are very like-minded, a group of people that want to get educated. So for you to spend an hour of your day today to come here and listen to this information lets me know that you are truly vested in your development, your education, and you truly want the best for yourself. One challenge I would say for 2022 is, what will you do this year to have better years down the road? What will you do in the year 2022 that will help you for many years to come? And not only that, many generations to come. So with that being said, welcome once again to the 2022 Tax Tips and Changes webinar, which is also known formally today as Tax Time, What You Need to Know Before Filing. Yes, it is tax season. Yes, it is 2022. And yes, it will be a great year indeed. So with that being said, here's the agenda for today. I'll kick it off with an introduction of who I am for those who don't know me. We'll talk about some changes, some things that have changed that you should be aware of for this tax season. We'll also talk about some tips, some things that you can do to stay ahead of the curve and make sure that you have a smooth, right? Not one of those, let me wait till April 15th, times, but let me have a smooth time filing the taxes. And then we'll talk about a tool, a software that you can be using to track your income and expenses throughout the year. And then at the end, we'll open it up for some Q&A. Now, before I forget, Lenore did inform me of this, but if you have not applied for PPP forgiveness yet, please let us know, right? Send Lenore an email or send Irma an email, and they'll be sure to send you the next steps, or you can send me an email as well. I'll share my contact information at the end. So if you have not applied for PPP loan forgiveness, first of all, you should, right? Secondly, please inform either myself, Lenore, or Irma so that we can, basically assist you with that, right? We can be able to assist you with that. So with that, who am I? My name is Jeff Badu. I'm a licensed certified public accountant. I did graduate from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign with my bachelor's and master's degree in accounting. I'm a parallel entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier. I'm the founder and CEO of Badu Enterprises LLC, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance industry. What we do is we provide a suite of financial services, including our marquee company, which is Badu Tax Services. And that's the firm that provides tax preparation, tax planning, and tax representation services to individuals and businesses across all 50 states in the U.S. And we also have clients in over 50 countries, in over 25, right? In over 25 countries at the moment. And I do want to formally welcome you to the tax season, the 2022 tax season. We are here to help you. We are here to assist. I'll leave my contact information at the end. As a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and put in our email address just in case you need to reach me, and you can contact me at any time. I'm also the CEO of Badu Investments LLC, which is our real estate investment company. And what we do is we invest in apartment buildings, mainly on the south side of Chicago, in efforts to restore traditionally underserved communities. Then we have Badu Life and Health Solutions LLC, which is our life insurance company. We actually recently started offering health insurance as well. So it's a health and life insurance company. And what we do is we provide life and health insurance solutions to individuals, families, and small businesses. And then last but not least, none of this really would mean anything to me if I wasn't giving back to the community. And that's where we have the Badu Foundation. And we teach financial literacy to the youth ages 6 to 18. We're teaching them on budgeting, saving, investing, and scholarships. We have a program this year where we'll be putting 100 students through via Zoom for a month and teaching them on financial literacy, and we'll also be giving out scholarships as well. My purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. So with that, now let's get into education mode a bit. This is the part where you do want to pull out a notepad, whether it be your phone, whether it be pen and paper, whether it be your laptop, whatever it is. I do strongly encourage you to take some notes because this is critical stuff that you should know, right? You should know. We're telling you this right now. We're telling you this today because we want you to be set up on the right path for success. Right? We want you to be set up on the right path for success so that when you're doing your taxes or your tax preparer is helping you with your taxes, you can review your tax return and say, hey, I noticed this, this, and this, can you please clarify like what this means? Or can you please clarify why this that I thought should be there isn't there, right? Believe it or not, it's sad to say, but not every accountant stays up to date with all the changes that goes on. The reason why is because most accountants are a one-person shop. And since they're a one-person shop, they're forced to do tax returns the entire year all by themselves. So then the question becomes, what time is there to really go out and look up updates and changes and all of that good stuff? For us, We're fortunate enough to have a team that helps send us resources and helps, do some of the research for us. And what we can do is come to a presentation like this and give you the information in a nice and simplified and summarized way. All right. So with that being said, for this year, 2022 tax season that we're in to file for 2021 tax year returns, we're always filing taxes in arrears, right? So whenever we're in the current year, we're filing for the previous year. So for 2021, there were some business tax changes, and I believe for those on this call today are business owners. So number one, the employee retention credit, some may know it as the ERC or ERTC, has been terminated, unfortunately. It was terminated as of September of 2021. It wasn't supposed to be terminated until December, right? And potentially even longer than that. But they did go ahead and terminate it. And the reason why they did this was to provide funding for other government programs. For example, the roads and, the Biden administration passed the infrastructure plan, right? They passed the infrastructure plan, and there's a lot of funds that have been allocated to infrastructure, travel, transportation, railroads, right, electric cars, buses, and everything that helps us get from point A to point B, basically, along with infrastructure, right, the infrastructure things that we need in the world. So due to this, funding was shut down for ERC, and then also the EIDL, there was a deadline that was set, right? There was a deadline that was set for the EIDL. Now, the word talks of extending that deadline, which I don't know if they have done that yet. But to my knowledge, as of December 31st, 2021, EIDL funds, basically they are saying that if you are a new applicant into the EIDL, that you can't necessarily submit a new application, right? At least based off what the SBA announcement that was made recently. I'm sure they're going to open it back up in the future. Now, one thing to note, EIDL was not created by COVID-19, so there will be funds in the future. There has to be. It's a disaster loan, right? So for now, though, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, there's pretty much no more funding as it relates to PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, nor EIDL, and now nor ERTC or ERC, the Employee Retention Credit. That was a credit where if you kept your employees, essentially, then you can get a tax credit, right? As long as your revenues fell by a certain amount, then you can get a tax credit that can help offset some of your costs as it relates to payroll. So that is a credit that it wasn't too popular because of PPP, but at the same time, they did terminate it because they needed more funding to be allocated to other programs. Another thing too is meals. So the meals deduction, when you, as a business owner, you can write off your meals. Whether you go out to eat with a client, you go out to eat with mom or grandma, and you're discussing business before, during, or after the meal, that's considered tax deductible. Now, in the past, it used to be 50% tax deductible before 2021. But as of 2021 and 2022, it is now 100% tax deductible. Why? Because it's to encourage people to eat more at restaurants. The reason why there's certain tax code items is to create incentives for you to do certain things. So meals are now 100% tax deductible. So when you file your taxes, you provide your tax preparer with the total meals number, and usually the tax software would multiply by 50%, but now it doesn't have to do that. Instead, it's going to apply the 100% rate. Next is crypto asset reporting. Those that are in the crypto business, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin, and Shiba, and all those coins that's out there, your brokers must now send you a 1099 form for your gains and your losses. All right, so your broker, the person that, let's say Coinbase, for example. Coinbase is one of the brokers of Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies, digital assets. In the past, they didn't have to send you a 1099 form, just like E-Trade and TD Ameritrade and all these other brokers, because of cryptocurrency. It was a new thing. But now the government has become more eyeballs, their eyeballs are more on cryptos because some people were refusing to report it on their taxes. So now the brokers must send you a 1099 form for your gains or losses, basically. Right. So if you bought Bitcoin at $1,000, let's say 3 years ago, and it's now worth 50,000, now you got to pay taxes on $49,000 unless perhaps you maybe reinvest some of the money into an income producing asset such as real estate, right? Where you can defer the taxes on the gain, right? There are ways to minimize your taxes on your capital gains essentially. So basically cryptocurrency is now being treated just like stocks, where you buy it at a low price, you sell it at a high price, you pay taxes, right? My advice to people usually is reinvest your money. Never let your money be sitting in a bank. It is one of the worst places, in my opinion, from a tax standpoint and also even from a growth standpoint. Now, of course, you need to have some reserves. You got to have at least three months of disposable income, right? Or 3 months of expenses should be saved in the bank. So if you spend $5,000 a month, you should have $15,000 in the bank at all times. I'm not talking about that money. I'm talking about money that's just literally sitting there. You got $100,000 right now just sitting there. Then that money needs to be deployed and that money needs to be invested into something, preferably an income producing asset such as rental real estate. You can do the same thing with oil, right? If you have an oil rig, you can get similar benefits. But overall, with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, you do have to, your brokers, at least, not you, but your brokers have to send you 1099s, and you have to put those 1099s on your income tax return. What happens when you don't put those on your tax return? That's when Uncle Sam comes knocking on the door and says, hey, where's my money, basically. All right. And then this, you may know this already because this applied to 2020, but it's important enough to re-emphasize. But PPP forgivable loans received, if you receive forgiveness on your PPP loan, you do not have to pay taxes on it. Let me repeat that one more time. If you receive forgiveness on your PPP loan, Paycheck Protection Program loan, and you got it forgiven, you do not have to pay taxes on it. You do not have to report it as taxable income according to the tax code. Nor, right, you also get to deduct it. Whatever you spent the money on, assuming it's business related, you can deduct that expense as well. Right? So you use the money to pay for payroll, you can deduct that money, even though the loan was forgiven. Use that for utilities, use that for rent, you use that for mortgage interest. That can all be deducted, right? Because those are qualified PPP expenses, Paycheck Protection Program expenses. So that's one important thing to note. And once again, if you have any questions, we will save 5 to 10 minutes at the end for some Q&A. So you can post your questions directly into the chat box here today, and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. So these are some of the more prevalent business tax changes. There weren't a whole lot, right? There weren't a whole lot. As Lenora alluded to earlier, for those who may have not been here earlier, basically funding has been sort of on hold. COVID-19, at least, specific funding has been slightly on hold, right? So ERC, PPP, EIDL. If you guys recall last year, on basically at the beginning of the year, there were funds released for PPP2 and then a potential PPP3. And then there was an EIDL2 as well, or the EIDL advance was expanded, plus the loan was expanded. They even doubled the PPP, the EIDL loan, sorry. They doubled the EIDL loans. For PPP, if you were self-employed, they allowed you to use gross income from your Schedule C as opposed to your net income, which was huge. So 2021, there was an abundance of funding. 2022, not exactly sure what's going to happen. With all the new variants coming out, there's possibility that there will be funding, right? But the economy is looking pretty good. Things are on the up and up, at least financially for the economy. So we'll see what new funding program comes out. Now, the government is over $20 trillion in debt. So that is something that we also need to be cognizant of when we're looking for this funding that we're speaking of, right? So that is something to be aware of. All right, so then those are the business tax changes. Now let's talk about the personal tax changes. This one, there's quite a lot. So as a business owner, you're forced to file your personal tax return and also your business tax return. So we just talked about the changes on the business tax return side. There's not a whole lot, right? There was only a few things on the previous slide, right? But personally, though, there's a lot of changes. So number one is a third stimulus check was given out last year. A third stimulus check was given out last year. It was $1,400 per person in your family. And you more than likely got that money into your bank account already, right? It is money that comes from the Treasury Department, aka the IRS, right? So $1,400 third stimulus check per person on your tax return. And you must reconcile this on your tax return, though, whether you got it or you didn't get it. So if you got it, then basically you still have to reconcile it. There's a box you just check. Hey, I received all my stimulus checks. Real simple. But if you didn't get it, and you must check that box, by the way, or the IRS might come knocking on your door, right? If you didn't get it, though, there's a possibility that you can get it. Remember, please double check your bank records. Please make sure that you did, in fact, not receive it. And there's a site, if you look up right now, IRS Economic Impact Payment or IRS Stimulus Check, there's a portal that allows you to see whether or not the IRS in their system is claiming that they sent it to you or not. If they claim that they sent it to you and you haven't received it, then you need to file your tax return, your 2021 tax return, right? File your 2021 tax return so that you can claim a credit known as the Recovery Rebate Credit. This is basically the stimulus check credit. You're not going to get the money twice if you already got it. The IRS is bulletproof when it comes to this one. As a matter of fact, we had a lot of issues last year, unfortunately, where we had some clients telling us, hey, we never got anything, right? Next thing you know, they didn't in fact receive it. And we would try to go in and claim it and say, hey, this client did not receive their stimulus check. That's what they disclosed to us. Now remember, with taxes, it is based on a self-disclosure, right? Now for us, we are going to become a little more strict in requesting bank records and everything like that to prove. I mean, there's no real way we can prove that the person didn't really receive it outside of requesting them to go to the IRS portal and pull that stimulus check data. All right, but all in all, let's just say that you did not receive your stimulus check. Right, you did not receive your stimulus check. You've checked the IRS website and it says you did not, in fact, receive it. Then you can file the tax return, your 2021 tax return, and assuming you qualify based off the qualifications to receive the stimulus check, then you will get the recovery rebate credit. If you say, hey, I didn't get it, but you did in fact get it, maybe the IRS mailed you a check and you didn't even know about it. They still count that against you, by the way. In that scenario, you have to do a check trace. You have to call the IRS and do a check trace so that they can reroute the check back to where it belongs, basically. All right, so if you put on your tax return that you didn't get it and you see this recovery rebate credit on your tax return, but you did in fact receive it, your refund is going to be held up for at least, I would say, 2 months, right? Your refund is going to be delayed by at a minimum 2 months because a physical human being now has to go into the IRS system, because the return is going to get flagged basically. They have to go into the system, and then they have to confirm, hey, this person, it shows on their transcript or in the system that they did in fact get it. Why are they claiming a credit saying that they didn't get it? Right? And basically, that individual, that human being, has to make a judgment call. Hey, this is saying that they did in fact get it, but they're saying they didn't get it. So you know what? Let's deny the credit. So they're going to reduce your tax refund by the amount of the credit that you tried to claim, right? And overall, it just creates more of a hassle process. So my advice, go into your bank transactions, confirm how much you received in the stimulus check, right? And please double check it. It should be coming from the IRS, Treasury Department. If you search those buzzwords, you should see it in there. You will also receive letter 6475 from the IRS in the mail to confirm how much they think you got in the stimulus check. Remember, always reconcile. Look at the number, right? Look at the amount that they put on paper. If it is saying that you got more than what you did get, then maybe it's time to actually look at your transcripts, double check your bank records, right? You know, and basically at that point you might even have to call the IRS, and I know it can be a little painful to call the IRS. Believe it or not, I'm personally having trouble getting a hold of the IRS right now, just because of everything that's going on in the world. But let's just say that this letter is supposed to confirm how much you did receive. The reason why I'm spending a lot of time on this point is because I know it's going to hold up some refunds. I know there will be a client or two out there that the refund gets delayed by a month, 2 months, because there was a mismatch, the misreconciliation of the stimulus check. By the way, if you claim a credit for, let's say, $2,800, and you had already received $1,400 out of that $2,800, you just didn't receive the additional $1,400, that can hold up your refund as well. Not just your stimulus check refund, but your entire refund for the entire tax return, including your child tax credit, your earned income credit, your withholding credit that you get back, right? So it's very important. My advice is go with what your bank is showing, because what your bank is showing is what you received. What your bank is showing is what you received. Reconcile that number with the letter. If it's equal, tell your tax preparer, hey, I got everything that I was entitled to. Do not try to claim this credit for me. Check the box saying that I got all my money, basically. I'm good, basically. If there's a mismatch, then you may need to start contacting the IRS and ask them, why is there a mismatch? Your tax preparer, unfortunately, cannot do anything about that at that point, right? Because there's limited things that a tax preparer can do when it comes to a dispute between you and the IRS that involves a dollar amount, like a refund or something like that. There's very little we can do. Right now, you can ask, hey, can you recalculate my stimulus check to see if they gave me the right amount? We will absolutely do that for you. So these are important things to just keep in mind. Now, the next one is the child tax credit. Thanks to the Biden administration, the child tax credit has been increased substantially, up from $2,000 to $3,000 per child. And if you have a child under the age of 5, then it's $3,600. They also increased the age. The maximum age is now 18 instead of 17. It used to be if you were 17 or older, you did not qualify for the child tax credit. But now if you're 18 or older, that's when you don't qualify for the child tax credit. Right? Now, very important. Same thing with the stimulus check. And I understand why the IRS did this, but the tax preparer in me is saying, man, why did the IRS do this? They sent half of the child tax credit as an advance in 2021, 6 months. Starting in July 2021, the IRS sent you a check They broke out the 3,000 or the 3,600 into monthly payments. They divided it by, by 12, and then they sent you 6 months worth of that. Now, here's what I can imagine is going to happen on many tax returns. I can imagine that, someone is going to be comparing their returns from year to year. They're going to compare 2021's tax returns to 2020, and they're going to ask the question, why is my refund so much lower than what it was last year? And then the tax preparer says, well, because you got half of your child tax credit in advance. And then the taxpayer says, I don't understand. Right? This happens all the time, unfortunately. Right? But let's just say, typically, now the good thing is they did increase the credit, thankfully. So that's gonna create a sort of middle ground a little bit, with the fact that refunds would be bigger in 2020 compared to 2021 because of the advance, but they did increase the refund. So hopefully people will understand a bit more as to why the refunds have been lowered, right? So remember, a tax refund is nothing more than money you've already paid to the government. They're just refunding it to you, plus these additional credits. There's a recovery rebate credit if you did not receive your stimulus checks. There's a child tax credit, there's an earned income credit, and then there's also the American Opportunity Credit. So one thing to understand is that just because you should not, first of all, you should not compare tax years. You should not compare 2020 to 2021. They're two completely different years. Right? You shouldn't say, hey, my refund was much higher this year versus this year. Now, what you could ask is why? And then be open-minded enough to listen and sit down with the tax preparer and understand as to why the refund was lower. One reason why it might be lower is because you received half of your child tax credit advance, right? You received half of it in advance. So the IRS sent you 6 months worth of your child tax credit, that $3,000. They sent you $1,500 in advance, right? That should have went to your bank account. If it did not, you need to contact the IRS and ask them why you guys didn't send me this money. Excuse me. So you must reconcile this, and similar to the stimulus checks, you will receive a letter 6419 if you receive a child tax credit advance. Best practice, take that letter, compare it to what you received in your bank account, add up those 6 transactions, and see if the two numbers are equal to each other. In our firm, we require this document now. So these are all things that you have to be very, very cognizant of. They made a lot of changes that will affect a lot of people. And so we want to make sure that as taxpayers, we are doing our due diligence. Us as tax preparers, we will always do our due diligence. But, as a taxpayer, you have to do your due diligence on your own as well to make sure you're providing the right documents to your tax preparer. Basically it's a mentality of help me help you. That's what it is. Help me help you. Some people feel, oh, if I'm going to do all this work, why not just file it on my own? The reason why is because you're using an expert, you're using expertise, an expert brain. The expert brain just needs the data needed to implement that expert brain. That's all it is at the end of the day. All right, so let's go on to some additional personal tax changes. Excuse me. So another thing that was good is that the Child Independent Care Credit, which used to be a measly $600 per child, has been increased to $4,000 per child now. From $600 to $4,000, right? And if it's multiple children, basically if it's multiple children, then it's $8,000. This is huge. This is for like daycare. This is for a nanny, right? All those expenses, you now get to claim up to $4,000. It's cash back. They will literally write you a check for $4,000 now instead of the $600. The Earned Income Tax Credit has also been expanded. Right? Earned Income Tax Credit has been expanded. The maximum credit for no dependents has increased from $543 to $1,502, which is pretty good. So if you don't have any kids, they did give you more money as a credit for working, basically. And then unemployment compensation. If you received unemployment in 2021, the same thing happened in 2020 as well. Up to $10,200 is not taxable. So if you have a 1099-G from the government, Illinois Department of Employment Security, IDES, if you have a 1099, just subtract 10,200 from that 1099, and that will be your taxable income from your unemployment. Unemployment is taxable. It's just up to $10,200 is excluded because the IRS would put some people in financial distress if they did not exclude that amount. Also, the premium tax credit. Happy open enrollment, by the way. If you need health insurance, we can assist you with that. Premium tax credit, which is a credit that can potentially reduce your health insurance premiums down to zero. Open enrollment ends on January 15th. It's been extended from December 15th to now January 15th. So you still have 4 days to sign up for health insurance if you haven't already. You can feel free to shoot me an email and we can send you over the next steps on that. But the maximum credit amount has been increased, right? So basically they went ahead and increased the threshold so that you can get more money towards your health insurance, right? We know how expensive health insurance premiums can be nowadays. What are some tips? We got about 5 to 10 minutes to go until we get to Q&A. Number one, file early. Early. Don't be the one that waits till April 15th, March 15th, right? Or God forbid, October 15th, the extension day. Please file early. The earlier you file, the earlier you get it off your plate, and the quicker you get your refund, the quicker you can resolve any tax issues. For me, I tend to acquire real estate, right? Rental properties. You know, so with that real estate, it requires me to have my tax returns ready and handy at all times. So your deadline is March 15th for partnerships and S corporations, if you have a partnership business or an S corporation business, and then April 15th for individuals and C corporations. As a matter of fact, they did extend you 3 extra days. So they did just yesterday, just announced, instead of April 15th, it is now April 18th. So they gave you 3 extra days to complete your taxes. Remember, file early though. File early. Another advice is reconcile your 2021 books and finances. Please, right? Look at your records. I actually just finished mine just today. Right, just today, I finished reconciling all my numbers for 2021, and then I'll move on to completing my tax returns. Right, and so, you know, QuickBooks is a great tool to use. We'll talk about that in a second to keep your books nice, organized, and reconciled. All you're doing with QuickBooks is you're linking your business checking account or credit card account. It's going to pull all your transactions for you. And all you're doing is categorizing and saying, hey, this is revenue, this is, you know, this is expense, this is income, that sort of thing. And then deduct everything, right? All those expenses that you spend money on, your meals, your travel, your home office, your utilities, your laptop, your cell phone, all that. You should be writing those things off. Right? And this is where QuickBooks comes in handy and making sure you're working with a reputable accountant that can help you determine what you can write off and what you can't write off. And then please communicate with your tax preparer throughout the process. It's a two-way street. It is not a one-way street. It is a two-way street. You need to make sure you communicate just like your tax preparer is obligated to communicate with you as well. If they need something from you, they should ask you for it. And if they need something for you, same thing. You should provide them. You know, don't say, oh, you guys are asking me for too much. There's a reason why we're asking you for this stuff. We don't want you behind bars. We don't want you to be non-compliant with the IRS. We're asking you these things for a reason. Right now, there may be times where you might have sent something that got lost in the emails. Always our apologies for that. But for the most part, when you're working with someone who may have like an organized system, like a portal, it's very, very rare to lose documents at that point. So always keep that in mind. Please communicate throughout the process. Last slide really is, use QuickBooks. I mean, use QuickBooks. And basically with QuickBooks, it's a software that allows you to automatically download and categorize transactions, participate in online billing, create professional looking invoices and estimates, upload receipts through your phone, and then also create customized financial reports. And last but not least, if you're a retail business, you can track inventory as well. Right? So one of the things I love about QuickBooks, it's a full-blown accounting software. It can do everything you need it to do. Right now, we run 12 businesses. And so with those 12 businesses, we can do all of that in separate QuickBooks, of course, separate QuickBooks, but we can reconcile all of our books all within QuickBooks. We can send invoices to customers, right? It is professional, it has a professional look and feel. Excuse me. It's rated the best software in the industry each year. And then there's plenty of discounts offered, especially if you're working with someone like myself, who's a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor. It also saves business owners a ton of time, about 10 hours a month on average. What can you do with an extra 10 hours each month in your business? Right? Saves you a ton of time. At some point, you may want to get a bookkeeper, someone who's doing it for you. But at least in the beginning, you want to know how to do it, right? So that when you hire somebody to do it, you can provide the proper oversight for that person, and you can be able to tell if there's something that's going wrong in your QuickBooks. One of the cons about QuickBooks, it does require some training, which we do offer in our firm, Badu Tax Services. And so it does take a little bit to really get used to it. But overall, if you're just looking to track income and expenses, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward to use. With that being said, I do want to thank everyone for joining today. You can feel free to type your questions in the chat box. Be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Here's my contact information. Email address is jb@badutaxservices.com. Once again, that's jb@badutaxservices.com. Phone number is 773-819-5675, 773-819-5675. Our website is badutaxservices.com. And with that being said, I want to thank everyone for joining. Please ask your questions in the chat. And we also have the slide here that I believe Irma and Nora will be going through. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. As always, I learned a lot. I was, writing down notes. I like how you gave some advice on, personal investment, which many people don't know. They feel it's something new and it may not be regulated yet, but the IRS doesn't miss anything. So, crypto and Bitcoins and all that, it's all very weird and foreign to me, but that's how behind the times I am. But younger and more savvy people are tapping into those new ways to invest. The one thing that I don't know if I missed it was when you're doing all this work and entering into QuickBooks and following the different things that you're able to, now I can't think of the word, write off. Yes. Should you keep like these meals that you're having with your families or with friends that you're discussing business? Are we keeping receipts for every one of them? Or are you okay with a general, like, oh, this month I spent $30? Would it obviously receipts are better, but are those a strong requirement?
So in our firm, we don't require to see receipts, but we always tell our clients, please keep your receipts and please keep them organized in a folder that you can always refer back to, and try to keep all of your receipts because you never know if the IRS might be sniffing in your books. Although you may have something like QuickBooks, which is tracking it for you, you still want to have that receipt, whether it's a digital copy or a physical copy, something that serves as extra backup just in case they try to come down on you.
And is there a time for these record retention? Is there a policy?
Yeah, I would say 7 years. Try to keep them for at least 7 years. That's usually the maximum time period for any potential audits. For me, I keep them forever, between you and I. But I would say 7 years is the time frame to do that.
Great. Lenora, you had something to say, or we're asking people if a QuickBooks webinar would be of interest. So let us know if that's something.
Yeah, I did put that in the chat, but I have a question as well. So If you received a PPP loan last year, how long do you have to apply for forgiveness?
Yeah, it's a great question. There is no deadline for forgiveness. Now, just because there's no official deadline doesn't mean you just linger around and not apply, right? Technically, though, there is no hard and fast deadline for forgiveness. Some people say 6 months, some people say a year. There's no technical deadline. Now, you may have to start making monthly payments, though, if you don't apply in time. So if you wait, let's say 2 years, then yeah, the bank is going to start requiring you to make some monthly payments. So apply for it as soon as you can, right? But at the same time, there's no hard and fast deadline that they've set for forgiveness, actually.
And if you need that application filled out, let us know and we can get that process for you free of charge. So please reach out.
Absolutely.
Any more
Yeah,
questions, please
tell
put them in
friends,
the
tell
chat.
friends and family. Tell friends and family
Yeah.
that, you know, we're helping any small business. So if you know of a colleague that owns a small business and is a minority business enterprise, please send them our way. Even if they don't need PPP, there may be something else that we may be able to help them in terms of growth, training, any type of certification that they may need guidance through. That's what we're here for.
Exactly. For sure.
So it doesn't look like we have any questions. Patricia, thank you for joining us, and thank you everyone else that joined us in today's chat. We really appreciate you taking the time, but we also hope that this was beneficial and informative. It sure was for me, so I'd like to thank Jeff again for taking time out of his busy schedule to help us out. And regardless of how busy Jeff is, take advantage of him. Whatever time you could get with him, he's very much worth your time, and we hope you take advantage of all the expertise he has in all things taxes.
And we hope you can attend our webinar next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Summacore will be here to talk about how to apply for the SPIF and the NOF grants. So you don't want to miss that. More and more opportunities to get more and more funding for your businesses.
Thank you. All right, if nothing else, I think we're going to give you back about 9 minutes of your time. Again, we appreciate you joining us, and we hope to keep you engaged and coming back for more and taking part in our webinars. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.